The Thornbirds, 1983, left a lasting impression on fans with its tale of forbidden love and haunting family drama set in the Australian outback. But behind this masterpiece lay shocking tragedies. Barbara Stanwyck, Richard Chamberlain, Simmons, and many other stars lost their lives to tragic accidents, drug addiction, and explosive personal secrets that could not be ignored. Barbara Stanwyck as Mary Carson. Barbara Stanwyck, born Ruby Catherine Stevens in 1987, was 76 years old when she played Mary Carson in The Thorn Birds, 1983. A powerful, jealous, and tormented villain, with her cold gaze and commanding voice, Stanwyck played a Mary Carson that made audiences around the world shiver. A wealthy woman, willing to manipulate the fates of others just to keep the love that was never truly hers. Barbara Stanwyck's real life, however, was as dark as any of her classic roles. When she was just 4 years old, her mother died in a horrific streetcar accident. Shortly thereafter, her father abandoned the family, separating little Ruby from her brother and sending her between foster parents. A childhood of poverty, loneliness, lack of love, and comfort had cast a pall over her soul that no one could pierce. At 15, she had a desperate abortion, leaving her childless, a secret she never openly confessed, but one that seemed to echo in her cold distance from her only adopted child. In 1928, she married comedian Frank Fay, a former stage star whose fame quickly faded when he moved to Hollywood. Stanwyck, on the other hand, had been a star in films such as Frank Capra's Ladies of Leisure, 1930. Her success became a thorn in Fay's side. Drunken tantrums, jealousy, slapping, and verbal abuse became commonplace. After 7 years of personal hell, their marriage ended, leaving deep emotional scars and an adopted son, Anthony Dion, whom Stanwyck kept at arm's length as the world abandoned her. A few years later, she formed a new relationship with rising star Robert Taylor, whom she had helped bring into the industry. They were married in 1939, in a hush-hush arrangement arranged by MGM to appease the public. For Stanwyck, it was not a passionate relationship, but a bond between two lonely people who cared for each other. However, even that did not last long. After World War II, Taylor wanted to retire from the spotlight, but Stanwyck could not resist. They divorced in 1950. Stanwyck never remarried, and she confided to friends that he was the man she loved most in her life. After the divorce, Stanwyck continued to act with passion and starred in the classic noir Double Indemnity, 1944. But fame and glory never truly satisfied him. In the last years of his life, he lived alone, far from Hollywood and the public eye. In 1982, while filming The Thornbirds, he inhaled special effects smoke, which gave him bronchitis, which was aggravated by his smoking habit since the age of 9. That same year, a burglar broke into her Beverly Hills home, severely beat her, and stole $40,000 worth of jewelry, shaking her confidence in the outside world. Barbara Stanwyck died on January 20, 1990, at the age of 82, of congestive heart failure combined with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Her estimated net worth at the time of her death was approximately $10 million, much of which was made from film, television, and real estate investments. Richard Chamberlain as Father Ralph de Bricassar. Richard Chamberlain was born on March 31, 1934. In the film The Thornbirds, 1983, he played Father Ralph de Bricassar, a 48-year-old handsome, influential priest torn between sexual love and ambition to rise in the church. But behind this noble and controversial image, Chamberlain's real life was also torn by internal struggles, which he kept secret for decades. Since the 1960s, when he became a national sensation with his role as Dr. James Kildare in the television series of the same name, Richard Chamberlain has lived a double life. One as the image of a perfect male god, admired by millions of women, and the other as a homosexual. He loved in the dark, lived in fear, and was plagued by constant guilt for denying his true self. During the filming of Shogun, 1980, Even at the height of his career, Chamberlain often fell into isolation and insomnia, fearing that the slightest mistake could cost him everything. In 1980, while preparing for the role of Father Ralph, the loving but unloving character, Chamberlain also experienced a personal crisis in his relationship with his partner, Martin Rabbit. They had been living together quietly in Hawaii since 1977, but they had not been allowed to publicly acknowledge their love. The gap between his real life and the ideal characters he had created sometimes made him feel as if he no longer knew who was who. This pressure had built up over time, leading to bouts of depression, which he only dared to talk about years later, in his 2003 memoir, Shattered Love, where he first came out as gay. But going public didn't necessarily bring peace. After the memoir was released, Chamberlain received much praise, but he also lost the support of some old fans. His relationship with the Rabbit also soured. In 2010, they officially separated, not because their love had died, but because of the unspoken wounds between them. Richard Chamberlain died on March 29, 2025, just 2 days before his 91st birthday, at his home in Waimanalo, Hawaii, from complications of a stroke. He died quietly, unmarried and childless, with his former partner by his side in his final years. His net worth is estimated at $20 million, amassed over 6 decades of artistic endeavors, from Dr. Kildare to Thornbirds, as well as a modest real estate investment in the Hawaiian Islands. Jean Simmons as Fiona Fee Cleary. Jean Marilyn Simmons was born on January 31, 1929. She was 54 years old when she played Fiona Fee Cleary, a grieving mother who silently endures a series of family tragedies. In the film The Thornbirds, 1983. It was not just a simple television role, as if Jean were channeling silent wounds that had been living in his soul for years. Gene Simmons became famous in England at an early age, thanks to his delicate beauty and aristocratic demeanor. At only 21 years old, he was nominated for an Oscar for his performance in Hamlet, 1948, in which he played alongside Laurence Olivier. But as she shone on the big screen, her personal life became increasingly murky. In 1950, after moving to the United States, Jean married actor Stuart Granger, a man 16 years her senior who was extremely jealous and controlling. The marriage lasted 8 suffocating years, during which Jean had to turn down many important roles and live in the shadow of her husband's career. "I didn't have a leading role in that decade," she once said in an interview. After divorcing Granger, Jean married director Richard Brooks, who gave her a memorable role in the film Elmer Gantry, 1960. In which she played a reformed prostitute. But even a second marriage couldn't stop old wounds from reopening. Brooks was a perfectionist and emotionally distant, often absent, leaving Jean alone in the house that should have been their home. In the 1970 seats, as their daughter became a teenager and their marriage began to fall apart, Jean quietly turned to alcohol, not as an addict but as a weary woman seeking refuge. Meanwhile, though she continued to appear in films such as Mr. Budwing, 1966, and The Happy Ending, 1969, her once bright eyes were now covered in silent wounds. He later retired from the entertainment industry, making only a few guest appearances, such as in Star Trek: The Next Generation, 1991, before retiring to a quiet life in Santa Monica. He died on January 22, 2010, just 9 days before his 81st birthday, after a battle with lung cancer. His net worth was estimated at $9 million, not a large sum compared to some of his Hollywood contemporaries, but enough to live out his final days in peace. Christopher Plummer, mint Vittorio de Contini Verchese Erschek. Christopher Plummer was born on December 13, 1929. He was 53 when he appeared in 1983 as Archbishop Vittorio de Contini Verchese in The Thornbirds, bringing to the role an authority, detachment, and wisdom that only time and the wounds of real life can give a man. Born into an aristocratic family in Canada but raised without a father, Plummer carried a quiet loneliness throughout his life, which he hid behind a calm smile and a penetrating gaze. His youth was marked by rebellion, drunken nights, and theatrical performances that masked a restless soul. His first marriage to actress Tammy Grimes ended after just a few years, leaving him deeply regretful of his absence during the formative years of his daughter, actress Amanda Plummer. Although their relationship eventually became close, the distance between them was never truly bridged. Amidst his personal turmoil, Plummer's career continued to advance unabated, though not always in the direction he had hoped. In 1965, he played Captain Von Trapp in The Sound of Music, a role that brought him to millions of audiences worldwide but also made him resent his openly hated glamorous image. He became known as the voice of the woods, a bitter rejection of the success that had defined him. In his later years, he returned to the stage with enthusiasm, perhaps seeking artistic purification, but that same devotion also alienated him from those who loved him most. Plummer's love life, while difficult, was never hopeless. After a failed first marriage, he married former actress Elaine Taylor in 1970. Their relationship lasted for the rest of his life, a quiet and sure compensation for what he had lost. When he played characters like the Insider, 1999, or Tolstoy in The Last Station, 2009, he not only portrayed powerful figures but also came to terms with his own past, conveying experience, pride, and regret with every look and breath. Christopher Plummer died on February 5, 2021, at his home in New York City after suffering a traumatic brain injury from a sudden fall. He was 91 years old. His net worth was estimated at $20 million, a figure that could not have measured the emotional value of his legacy even after more than 7 decades of service. Even in his final hours, he maintained the elegant style of a classic gentleman, a man who had lived both in the spotlight and in the shadows without ever losing the dignity with which he chose to live. Rachel Ward as Meggie Cleary. Rachel Ward was born on September 12, 1957, into a British aristocratic family, a descendant of the Earl of Dudley, and raised in the luxurious surroundings of Oxfordshire. She was only 26 when she landed the role of Meggie Cleary in the Thornbirds, 1983. The role, in which a woman yearns for forbidden love with a priest, not only brought Ward international fame, but also marked a turning point in both her career and personal life. On the set, she met her co-star Brian Brown, and a quiet but enduring romance developed between them that has lasted more than 4 decades to this day. After the huge success of the Thorn Birds, Rachel Ward found herself thrust into a spotlight that she admitted was disconcerting. Hollywood began to label her as just a pretty muse, and she felt that this label stifled her creativity. After co-starring with Jeff Bridges in Against All Odds, 1984, despite their on-screen chemistry, Ward found herself increasingly out of place in the American film industry. She decided to take a break to study acting. This decision was not a retreat, but a deep inner journey to find her artistic identity. In 1987, she returned to the screen in The Umbrella Girl, again opposite Brian Brown, who was by then her real-life husband. While becoming a household name in Australian cinema and a cult figure in America, Rachel Ward chose a more challenging path, abandoning the comforts of acting to become a director. Her 2009 film, Beautiful Kate, which she wrote and directed, explored the complexities of a sexually fractured family. The film was controversial but also praised for its emotional depth. Ward's bold move put pressure on the media and the public, many of whom found it difficult to reconcile her portrayal of Meggie as a lovable character with her bold film image. Although she avoided major scandals or personal tragedies, Ward admits that her career was torn between meeting public expectations and maintaining creative control. The internal pressure, the fatigue of public scrutiny, and the unpredictability of her art often left her feeling insecure. However, it was her decision to live quietly, away from the red carpet, faithful to the independent film industry, which helped her maintain her artistic path and family happiness. In 2025, Rachel Ward is still alive and has turned 68. She lives in Australia with Brian Brown and continues to work in the film industry, sometimes as a director, sometimes as a consultant. Her estimated net worth is around $10 million, thanks in part to her acting and directing career and in large part to her long-lasting marriage to Brian Brown. It's a rare and enduring bond in show business that began with a glimpse of Meggie and Luke on that memorable set. The tragedies and losses of these stars not only leave a void in the hearts of their fans, but also serve as a powerful reminder of the fragility of life behind the curtain of fame. Which story touched you the most? Share your thoughts and continue exploring the hidden lives behind the screen in our upcoming stories. Richard Venture as Harry Goulf. Richard Venture was born on November 11, 1923. He was 60 years old when he appeared in the 1983 film The Thornbirds, in which he played Harry Goff, a cunning, secretive lawyer who keeps legal secrets about Mary Carson's vast estate and will. His role, though brief, is crucial, as Goff's actions help to reveal the motives that shape the fates of Meggie and Father Ralph through the mischievous objects left behind by Mary. Richard Venture's real life was much quieter than his on-screen persona. Born in New York, he served in the U.S. Navy during World War II before making his Broadway debut in 1951 in Dinosaur Wharf. The discipline of war, the challenges of post-war life, and years of constant work had forged a rare calmness in him, which audiences could often sense in his calm, commanding voice and gaze. After his discharge from the Army, Venture built a career in stable supporting roles. He was not a poster boy, but he became a familiar face in dozens of films and television shows from the 1960s to the early 2000s. One of his most notable roles was in the film All the President's Men, 1976, in which he brought subtlety and depth to the character without being considered a leading man. However, his first marriage to Grace Grant, which lasted from 1946 to 1971, ended after the birth of their 4 children. In 1971, he married the famous African-American actress Olivia Cole, the same year that the film Roots became a success on American television. Interracial marriage was considered daring in a society that was still deeply racist. However, after 13 years, the marriage ended. Friends attributed the breakup partly to their intense focus on their careers and partly to Venture's introverted personality, which made emotional intimacy difficult. He later remarried twice, and his last wife, Catherine Catalano, remained by his side until his death. Richard Venture died on December 19, 2017, at his home in Chester, Connecticut, at the age of 94. His death was attributed to natural causes and old age. Just 31 days later, his ex-wife, Olivia Cole, passed away, bringing a sad end to a little-known chapter of their lives together. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at $1 million, a modest sum, but one that reflects the integrity and hard work of a man who chose to be rock solid in the spotlight. Piper Laurie was born on January 22, 1932, and was 51 years old when she played Ann Mueller in the Thornbirds. Her role as Maggie's steadfast confidant, a woman who ran Drogota Farm with calm determination but secretly carried emotional scars, reflected the bitter trials and tribulations Piper faced in real life behind the glitz and glamour of fame. Born Rosetta Jacobs to Jewish immigrants, Piper Laurie had a quiet and lonely childhood. Her parents sent her and her asthmatic sister to a sanatorium, where she grew up in emotional isolation. This childhood loneliness made her so shy that she had to take singing lessons weekly just to overcome her fear of speaking. At 17, Laurie was brought to Hollywood under Universal's management and was sculpted into a marketable figure, a milk-soaked, innocent, and dreamy petal created by the studio's PR machine. Disillusioned with this artificial image, she left Hollywood and sought authenticity on Broadway and in live television productions, most notably in the 1958 play Days of Wine and Roses. Her marriage to Joe Morgenstern lasted from 1962 to 1982, during which time they lived a seemingly idyllic life in Woodstock, New York. They adopted a daughter in 1971, but the marriage ended after 2 decades. Her career stalled after her breakthrough success in The Con Man, 1961, in which she starred alongside Paul Newman and received her first Academy Award nomination, which sent her into a depression. She felt stifled by Hollywood, and her career was revived only by her portrayal of the fanatical mother Margaret White in Carrie, 1976, for which she received a second Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Despite her complex and emotional roles, such as the stern schoolteacher in Children of a Lesser God, 1986, for which she received a third Academy Award nomination, Piper Laurie never truly felt at home in Hollywood. He found peace in sculpture and acting. After his divorce, he lived alone in California, with the strong characters he often portrayed. In his memoir, he admitted that years after his divorce, he still dreamed of the family that was never truly his. Piper Laurie passed away on October 14, 2023, in Los Angeles at the age of 91. Her family has not released an official cause of death, but sources close to her say she was frail in her final months. Although she quietly retired from the spotlight, she left behind an impressive artistic legacy and an estimated net worth of $4 million. More than a number, she is a testament to resilience, innovation in the face of pain, and unwavering commitment to her craft. Richard Kiley as Patty Cleary. Richard Paul Kiley was born in Chicago on March 31, 1922, to an Irish Catholic family. He was 61 when he took on the role of Paddy Cleary in the 1983 play, The Thorn Birds, in which he gave a deeply moving portrayal of a quiet, loving father burdened by the same hidden burdens that plagued his life behind the scenes. Unlike many stars who were captivated by the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, Kiley chose a quieter, more challenging path, Broadway. But the price of this devotion was a quiet personal sacrifice. He endured his first marriage and divorce after 6 children, a financial and emotional burden, though he rarely spoke about it publicly. Even when he won his first Tony Award in 1959 for Red Hair, and then in 1966 for La Mancha, where he moved audiences to tears with The Impossible Dream, behind the curtain he bore the lonely responsibility of a foreign father. Kiley is known for his deep, introspective, and sometimes haunting performances, not for his flashy films. He played a kind-hearted teacher haunted by school violence in Blackboard Jungle, 1955, and a strict but compassionate father in The Thornbirds. Kiley often reflected on his own loneliness and moral weight in the characters he portrayed. He once said that Don Quixote was his destiny, and he returned to it again and again, as if the stage had given him an unimaginable dream, even as it became increasingly distant from reality. In his final years, Kiley fought a quiet but fierce battle with a rare bone marrow disease. He continued to work without acting or complaining until his health failed him. He continued to narrate popular documentaries such as Planet Earth and Mysteries of the Bible, his warm baritone voice still ringing on television even as his health deteriorated. In Jurassic Park, 1993, when the character John Hammond proudly says, "We spared no expense. We hired Richard Kiley," it wasn't just a line, it was true. Kiley's voice is trusted by the world. Richard Kiley died in New York on March 5, 1999, just 3 weeks before his 77th birthday. He died of bone marrow disease, quietly but painfully. At the time, his net worth was estimated at $3 million, amassed over more than 50 years of artistic commitment. When the lights of Broadway dimmed in his honor that day, they not only mourned a talented actor, but also remembered a resilient soul who not only gave audiences roles, but also gave them a glimpse into the real life behind the makeup.